Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus addressed this parable to those who were convinced of their own righteousness and despised everyone else. Two people went up to the temple area to pray. One was a Pharisee, and the other was a tax collector. The Pharisee took up his position and spoke this prayer to himself. "O God, I thank you that I am not like the rest of humanity, greedy, dishonest, adulterous, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a day, and I pay tithes on my whole income." But the tax collector stood off at a distance and would not even raise his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast and prayed, "O God, be merciful to me, a sinner." I tell you, the latter went home justified, not the former. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and the one who humbles himself will be exalted. The Gospel of the Lord. In this Gospel reading, we kind of have this idea, along with our psalm, the Lord hears the cry of the poor, and the cry of the poor is not like something in this text, of the context of this weekend, just for those who do not have money. It's not the spiritual poverty. The Lord hears the cry of the poor, those who humble themselves, and those who are without, those who are suffering. And He gives this story, and I think it's partially true, partially actually a reality of it. So there's a Pharisee and a tax collector. Tax collector, huh? Who might be a tax collector? Matthew, right? Matthew was a tax collector. So you have the Pharisee and the tax collector. And the Pharisee is kind of self-justifying. "Oh, look at all the good things I'm doing. See, I got it made in the shade, right? I got heaven, no doubt. And so I'm going to go to heaven because look at all these wonderful things I'm doing." As opposed to the tax collector who's actually going, and he's very real about his faith. He's struggling with it, and he knows it. And he's very real in the way he approaches Jesus with this. "Lord, I am not worthy of this." And he comes with a full repentant heart. He's given God his very heart. He's giving God his very heart. And so Jesus says, "I tell you, the latter went home justified, not the former." The Pharisee is the do-gooder. The one is like, "I do all these things," and checks off everything in the box. That's the one that actually doesn't get to know Jesus as he truly is. Because he's still approaching God like, "Look at all this stuff I've done. You owe this to me, God. Look at all the good I'm doing. Of course I'm going to heaven because I'm doing good. I'm a do-gooder, of course." It's not good enough to be a do-gooder. It's about giving our heart to Jesus. And see, because this tax collector is totally repentant, he gives his heart to God. Now he's entering into this relationship with God, and because he's giving his heart to God and admitting his faults, he discovers the goodness of God. The Pharisee hasn't got a clue. The Pharisee is totally clueless on this relationship that he's invited to. God is still this something out there. "Oh God, I'll talk to you, and look at all these wonderful things. I'll see how wonderful I am," and all this other stuff. And he's totally clueless on knowing who God is. But it's the one who is repentant, the one who humbles himself, that discovers who God is, as he really is. Do you want to know God as He really is? Are you still afraid of who God is as He really is? Or do you really know Him to be a merciful God and truly know His character in such a way? That's a scary step for us. And I suppose that's maybe why the Pharisee is being this do-gooder. He thinks he's going to go out and do good. He's going to earn all this stuff because he's afraid. Like, if you get to know God, if you admit your faults, that's a scary step. That means if you admit your faults to God, that means He has full rights to condemn you. Do you trust that He wouldn't? And unless we entrust ourselves for Him, we can prop up all we want. We can say we have all the faith we want, but when it comes to push and shove, are we really willing to step out in faith and admit to Him our faults? And to really discover His goodness, because that's the whole point of it. It's not about how bad we are, it's about how good God is. But if you want to figure out how good God is, if you want to really experience that and really know it through and through, you have to come to Him. You have to be willing to be within arm's distance instead of giving that stiff arm. Only so close. I'm not going to admit my faults. But that's the grace of confession He wants to give us so that we can come to know Him as He truly is. So again, the question is, do we really want to know Him as He really is?